Excellent.
The
Mm-hmm.
recording has started.
Excellent. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for signing in and attending our meeting. Let's see, it's 2 minutes after 6. We'll wait for 1 more minute just to allow for more folks to jump in and log on, if that's okay. So appreciate your patience. And again, just wanted to thank all of you for coming in and participating with this, with this public meeting. So we're very excited to get this underway. Hang tight for another minute or two, then we'll get started. So thank you all.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you again for all who've signed in and attending. We're just waiting for a couple more minutes for people to sign in and show up. So right now we're about 4 minutes past 6, and let's go wait for 1 more minute. Make sure we get everyone. So again, I appreciate your patience, and we'll start at 6:05. Thank you all. Great, and this being 6:05, again, I just wanted to thank everyone here at the team, everyone who's able to attend today's meeting. This is the Off-Highway Vehicle Park Siting Feasibility Study meeting. We're very excited to have you all and to get this underway. Next slide, please. So just some housekeeping dot points. Excuse me. Throughout the presentation, I'll be using the term OHV, which means off-highway vehicle. As you are all already aware, this is going to be in the Zoom format, virtual meeting format. It is currently being recorded as well. And that during the question and answers section of the presentation, you'll have the opportunity to type in your questions while we'll have staff triage and share those questions amongst the panelists, and we'll be able to answer your questions the best we can. So thank you again for that. And next slide, please. So introductions, my name is Emmett Aquino. I'm with County Parks and Rec Department. I'm the project manager for this off-highway vehicle park feasibility study project.
Good evening. My name is Emily Hubbard. I am a senior park project manager with the Department of Park and Recreation.
And I'm Dick Rawl with ICF, part of the consulting team, and am leading the technical work on the project.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Joan Isaacson with Kearns and West, and we are a firm that focuses on community engagement and working with a project team to make these events places where we can hear your input, and this team can be reviewing that input and considering it as they do their work.
Excellent. Thank you, team. Can we go to the next slide, please? Great. So agenda, I'll be talking about the background, timeline, dot points, purpose, project objectives. Then we'll move on to the methodology, where I'll get into the process and role of the stakeholders. Next will be the market analysis discussion, which Dick will be able to discuss a little more in detail. Then we'll share a graphic of showing the existing OHV recreational facilities that we have identified that's within the county and outside. Then we'll be going over the OHV park siting criteria, and then we'll have our questions and answers. And at the very end of the presentation, we'll have our survey. And just want to put extra emphasis on the survey. Again, if you can take the time to go on to the link and fill out and address some of the survey questions and provide any type of feedback you'd like, we'd really appreciate that. So I'll provide that information after this presentation, and that survey is available on our website. Next slide, please. So siting of an off-highway vehicle recreation area in the county has been considered in previous county plans in the past, and a formal process hasn't been undertaken until recent. Recent meaning just about 2 years ago. So January 2021, California State Parks, they opened up their grant cycle, and in February 2021, we were directed by the Board of Supervisors, and I'll quote it here, to conduct the activities necessary to begin the process of siting an off-highway motor vehicle park in the county of San Diego, including conducting any necessary review of CEQA once a site is identified, and return to the board as necessary. So summer 2021, the county submitted a grant application, and near the end of 2021, we were awarded funds. And last year, 2022, is when we put the OHV team together. And again, just want to circle back and inform all who visited here that we are at the direction of the board to take the next steps and go through the process of siting off highway vehicle park. And that's why we're here conducting this feasibility study. Next slide, please. Thank you. Off-highway vehicles are land vehicles designed for off-road use, mostly used for recreational purposes. This illustration here shows just multiple types of OHVs, and I could just name them down on the list here. We have ATVs, kids ATVs, motorbikes, ATVs being all-terrain vehicles, UTVs, which is utility task vehicles, side-by-sides, and 4x4s. Next slide, please. The objectives of this feasibility study is to identify the location of the County San Diego's first OHV park. So some of you might be asking the question, hey, there's already parks in the County of San Diego. Well, they may be located in tribal land or U.S. Forest Services, but the County San Diego Parks Department doesn't currently own, operate, or maintain this type of facility. Another objective is that the study will consider safe access and use for OHV park visitors while minimizing impacts to environmental resources. Next slide, please. Methodology. So this is going to be a multiple step process, and I'll be going over that step process in the next slide. We'll also involve on-site assessments, a market analysis, which I mentioned earlier that Dick will be speaking to later in the presentation. Website project information is going to be important. So we've currently got our website up to date, and we're going to actively be updating that. So I encourage all of you, if you get the chance, just to follow up and check in our website. We're going to do our best to make sure we're transparent and share any milestones we've made within this feasibility study process to you, the public, who are considered stakeholders. So next item I have here is the public outreach. Again, that's what we're doing today. We're excited to reach out to all of you, and we're hoping you can share this, to others who may be interested. Doesn't matter if you're enthusiasts, if you're neutral, or have project or environmental concerns. We just want to get the word out. And again, we just appreciate all of you here. Another thing I wanted to mention is that we do have a stakeholder roundtable group. This group is comprised of members in the community who have and represent broad sets of interests and have professional backgrounds from OHV enthusiasts, environmentalists, public agencies, emergency services, and even tribal representation. So just to inform everyone here as well, we did meet with them a couple months ago, and it was a very good meeting we had with them. They provided us a lot of valuable information and perspective on this approach. this process. They assisted us with this presentation as well, providing feedback. And we'll continue to work not only with this group, but also with you all as well, as there's going to be opportunities to comment on this project and multiple phases in the project. Next slide, please. This illustration shows the multiple steps in this process, and I'll go through them step by step. So last year, we're able to put together the OHV team, identify stakeholders, and draft the outreach engagement plan. Step 2, where we are right now, is in the earlier stage of collecting information, and again, reaching out to the roundtable and also to the public. This is our opportunity right now to gather all the information we can, and again, with your help, will help us shape, and guide us through this report process. Next, what will happen is that we're going to assess this through a first tier analysis, which is a GIS level assessment, working with our county GIS department with all the different GIS layers and information. We'll gather a pool of locations in the county and identify where we can have these larger high level potential OHV areas. The tier 2 step, which is following, we're hoping that we can cut that pool in half to reduce it. Again, that's going to be based on additional feedback from you, the public, and public stakeholders and our roundtable members. Then from cutting it in half, we'd like to potentially have that into the last 2 primary sites, and then hopefully complete our feasibility study by 2024 as this grant performance period ends at that time, fall 2024. So that's just a quick high-level description of the process. And each step in this process, what we're planning to do is to reach out again to the public, reach out to our roundtable members, and also provide information in our website and provide opportunities just to comment at each of these milestones. So all of you here today, again, we appreciate you guys taking the time to coming out here. Next slide, please. And I'll hand it over to Dick with ICF, who will be able to speak on the market analysis a little more in detail for you all.
Yeah, thanks, Emmett. Yeah, I'll talk about some of the technical aspects of the project, starting with the market analysis, which will evaluate both the demand and the supply in the OHV market right now. The analysis of demand largely boils down to determining how many users there are and roughly where they live in the county. And that helps us understand the user base and the proximity of users to potential sites. The analysis of supply centers on creating an inventory of existing OHV facilities and the opportunities they provide. But we'll also be looking at the economic aspects of OHV use in the county and some funding models for funding that type of a park. Next. On the supply side of the market analysis, we have completed an inventory of existing OHV recreation opportunities in the project study area, which is all of San Diego County plus a 50-mile buffer around the county to make sure that we're seeing some of that immediate context. The areas labeled on this map in the boxes represent areas whose primary purpose is to provide OHV recreation. But also on this map, it's hard to see at this scale, is an inventory of trails on public lands, on other public lands that are open to OHV use. And some of those trails are open only to street legal licensed vehicles like Jeeps and some motorcycles. Others are open to street legal vehicles plus green or red sticker licensed OHVs. Can't ride on the street, but can ride on some trails, and that would be examples like ATVs and side-by-sides. Next. The mapping information is supplemented with more detailed information about each of those facilities. And that's important because we need to know not just where the facilities are, but what types of activities are available there. Tracks, open riding, Jeep trails, the type of terrain, camping facilities, all of those kinds of details. Next. This is just more of that data. And all of this information really helps us better understand which locations and which types of OHV recreation are are well served already and which might be underserved. And a new OHV facility should ideally focus mostly on the underserved locations and experiences. Next, I will talk a little bit more about our siting criteria that Emmett gave a summary of earlier. We move on from that inventory phase to the process of identifying potential sites. And as Emmett noted, we're following a 3-tier process. We need to find sites that best fit criteria for location, environmental resource protection, riding opportunities, ownership, land use, and similar information. And so the first cut at that is tier 1, and that is a GIS and data-driven exercise that looks at the entire county. We have dozens of GIS data layers for environmental information, physical land features, ownership, and similar. And we crunch that data to identify up to 16 potential sites. And the next step then, computer models are super useful to sort through massive amounts of data, but they're not perfect by themselves. So the tier 2 analysis switches modes to a human evaluation of those 16 sites to apply human judgment and vet them further. And that process is focused primarily on ensuring we have a clear and accurate view of environmental and economic factors for each of the tier 1 sites. And we are planning to narrow those 16 sites to the 8 best sites. When we go to tier 3, we'll be looking more deeply at how those sites would actually function, how they might be laid out, and finding the 2 that best seem to work the best. And then we'll prepare some preliminary conceptual layouts for how those might be laid out. Next. So a little bit more about that computer analysis process in tier 1. This slide illustrates a bit more what's happening there. And as I noted, we've collected dozens of layers of info. Each of them is then divided into a grid, and each grid cell is given weighted values reflecting areas that are most compatible with OHV use and which are least compatible. And for example, areas designated as habitat preserves or areas that are already built out as residential or commercial areas are ruled out entirely. Of what's left, areas with low quality or very common habitat types would score higher than areas with really high quality habitat or very rare habitat types that we wouldn't want to site a facility on. And we do that for each layer in our list. Once we're done with that, we then combine all of those layers into one composite layer with the values in each of those layers mathematically summed into a total composite value. And as an example, if a cell's value in one layer is 3, indicating that it's somewhat favorable for OHV use, and in a second layer, the value is -2, indicating that it's unfavorable, then that composite score would be a 1. And so that's just a simple example of how that math might work. And so then when we're done, the areas with the highest composite scores become our candidates for that first cut of 16 potential sites, which then get vetted more specifically, as I noted earlier. So that's it for me. I'm going to hand it off to Joan, who will lead us through a couple of polling questions.
All right, thanks, team. So the team's provided some really good information about what this study is and the methodology and the background for it. So we're going to now turn to our meeting to hearing from you, our participants. And again, we really appreciate you taking the time to be here this evening. So we have some polling questions, and then we're going to open up the Q&A box and take some of your questions. I do just want to remind everyone, we are going to post and send a link for the survey. And so that'll be another way that you can provide input after the meeting. So we hope that all of you do that. And so we can just keep the input coming in. Let's now go to our first polling question. We'll go to the first slide. And so our first question, you can see it noted there on the screen. is what county board of supervisors district do you live in? So there's a map right there that shows the 5 districts. Now, if I had seen that map, I wouldn't necessarily know which district I'm in. So we created another slide for you, for those of you who need a little bit more help, like I would need some help. So here you can see the 5 districts and examples of the communities that are in each district. So take a look at this and figure out which district you're in. And then we're gonna put up the polling question. So there's District 1 there with Chula Vista, Imperial Beach, Otay, District 2, Poway, Lakeside, Jacumba, District 3, a little bit more coastal and central, Encinitas, Mira Mesa, Rancho Penasquitos, District 4, Mission Valley, the college area, Valle de Oro, and then District 5, more north, San Marcos, Oceanside, Fallbrook, Borrego Springs, goes into the east. District 5 is a really big district. Okay, Derek, if you could pull up the first polling question, and this is really simple, which is on your screen, and you can just click, and I'll give you a moment to choose an answer, and then we're gonna put the answers on the screen. So this really helps us to get to know who's on our meeting tonight and where you're from. Wait just another moment. All right, Derek, if you can show us the answers for this. There we go. So we have, this is great. We have participants, community members from all of the districts, which is exactly what we hoped for. And you can see that there are more people from District 2. So we have 2 more questions. And so we'll take these answers down, and then we'll go to the next slide that has the second question. And here we go. All right, so we're interested in knowing, for those of you who participate in off-highway vehicle recreation, we're interested in knowing what kind of vehicle or vehicles do you use. So Emmett had gone over these a couple moments ago, and when we get to the poll question, you can select all that apply. So we've got motorcycle, ATV, UTV, side-by-side, 4x4, and boxes for those of you who don't own a vehicle, and boxes for those of you who have never ridden an OHV or an off-highway vehicle. All right, let's put the poll question up. And again, you can click on as many answers that apply to you. So we'll keep this open for a moment as you click through. Okay, just another minute. We'll make done a minute, just another 10 seconds to make sure everyone gets a chance to do this. All right, let's go to the answers. Okay, so this is really interesting. Again, we have good representation from people who use different vehicles. We have a person or two that has not ridden an OHV before. And we can see that out of this group we have here this evening, that we have more people who ride motorcycles and dirt bikes and 4x4s. That's really interesting. Okay, let's go to our third poll question. All right, so our third question here is on the screen now. We're really curious about what motivated you to attend this meeting this evening. And again, this is just one more way for us to get to know you, our meeting attendees. So here are the answers. And again, you can check all that apply. So the first one is you wanted to learn more about the study. Second, you're excited about the prospect of an OHV park in San Diego County. The third option is you're interested in land use. The third is you have questions. And then there's an other box you can check as well. So we can just go to the poll question and you'll see these same answers in the box that's going to pop up. And there they are. So again, we've got, I wanted to learn more about the study. I'm excited about the prospect of an OHV park in San Diego County. I'm interested in land use, I have questions, and then there's that other box too. Okay, Derek, can you help us show the answers? There we go. All right, so we've got a mix of reasons of why you're all here. A lot of you are here because you're excited about the prospect of an OHV park. We have a number of people who wanted to learn more about the study, you're interested in land use, you have questions, and other. And I want to make a note that for those of you who identified other, the survey is a great place to provide additional information that's not getting picked up in our poll questions. So thanks for participating in the poll. We appreciate that. And we're now we're going to go to the Q&A portion of the meeting. And we're going to put the slide up. And again, you can see on the slide where on the toolbar to find the Q&A box. And we're going to open that up. And so you can go in there and type your questions. And I'm going to open up my box so I can see your questions as they come in. And then the teams will respond to them. So I'm just getting my own screen set up.
Thanks. And Joan, if you don't mind, I'm going to add something. I know that we have an example of a screenshot of where the Q&A button is. Some people might be listening into this on different electronic devices, whether it's your PC or iPad or smartphone. But I just wanted to let you know that if you don't see the Q&A button on your interface, feel free to try to find the 3 dots or circles, which sometimes can open up additional options. And again, just to share with you all, sometimes the Q&A is not shown how it is here on the display based on the device you're on. So it is there. Just got to find those 3 dots to expand the menu option.
Thanks, Emmett. And we have questions that are coming in. So are you ready?
Yeah, excellent.
Okay. So the first question is from Soundra, who asks, have any primary sites been chosen?
Hi, Sandra. As far as sites go, the answer is no. Right now, initially, when we first saw this, I'm going to add a little more information for you here from Pharrell. We were actually looking at D2 and D5. Then as we met with the roundtable group and looked at it further, we decided, hey, this is countywide. You know, there could be opportunities countywide to see where there's a potential to have this facility. So no, we have not. We don't have anything round down, and that's what the first tier assessment is for, kind of what Jake mentioned. But right now, to answer your question, no, there's no sites identified at this time.
Okay, and there was another similar question, which was, where are the proposed areas? But Emmett, I think you just answered that we're still in the process and there are no proposed areas have been identified yet.
That's correct. No proposed areas have not haven't been identified. And again, with the GIS layer assessment, if I could add on to that, I mean, we'll be taking your feedback. The survey is going to be an important medium for all here, and for those who are interested to provide feedback and share with us the story, any examples, any input you might have. We're going to be reading every single survey and input and information you have, and we'll take everything to consideration. So yeah, that would be my response. And again, thank you for the questions. Yeah, let's bring them on.
Okay, we have more. We've got great questions. Okay, so Don has asked, how many people are in this meeting? And then okay. Can others get involved in the stakeholder group?
So right now, this meeting, I have it labeled at 46. So, my apologies. That's the number I see as far as participants in my Zoom interface. So, and I think you'll see that in the video as well. But that's what I have noted here. Second question about participation. We consider all of you as stakeholders, and going to the roundtable member group, that was pretty much put together by our executive management and board office, and we're told to have that limited to, I think it was 9 people, 9 to 10. So unfortunately, we can't have everyone as part of the roundtable member group. But again, I could just reiterate that the roundtable member group is a broad spectrum of backgrounds where it is comprised of OHV enthusiasts to local agencies, to environmentalists, tribal representation, emergency services. So we did our best to have a good representation from all backgrounds on that. But we appreciate your interest. And again, you are all stakeholders here. That's how we feel. And again, my information will be provided on the website and at the end of this presentation. And I encourage you just to reach out to me. I want to hear you. I want to hear your story. And this is all a first for all of us. So we want to make sure we get all the input and feedback we can. So again, like what I said earlier, answering your question, you're all important. You're all stakeholders in this, whoever has attended.
All right, thanks for that, Emmett. We have more questions. And so here's an interesting question from Sandra again. Would this off-road park have camping, restrooms, concessions? What are you all thinking?
Yeah, that's great. I think right now we don't know yet. We're trying to find, I guess, potential feasible locations, and these are great comments. I mean, if this is what's the interest of the public, and this is a need to serve this recreational community, then yeah, let's go try to have that happen. And that's what we need. Again, filling out the surveys, identifying what you feel would be a benefit for the public, for recreational OHV users, or for all. So please, yes, all that you feel would be necessary to have a successful OHV park in the county of San Diego. We're open to hear you. And like what you mentioned, as far as list, have we decided? We haven't. And this is an opportunity to identify these amenities in which you, the public, would like to see.
This is a question that probably is for Dick. And it's about one of the maps that you showed on one of your slides. So the question is asked by Joshua, who is asking, is there somewhere we can access the map of the county with all the trails in more detail?
We do have a PDF of that map. I would defer to the county, I guess, in terms of how you would want to make that available to the public.
Yes, I think we do have a map, and excuse me, I think we do have a map in our website, similar to what you saw, and it might be at a higher resolution where you could zoom in. I'll double check and see, but if it isn't, I know that working with Dick and his team, we do have some information showing some existing OHV recreational areas and trails. So yeah, what we can do is we can have that shared on our website. So thank you for that comment. I know we do have one already shared. I just don't know if it's pixelized if you zoom in. So my apologies for not knowing that, but that's something I'll note. And I'd like to see if we could include on our website.
Yeah, we'll definitely check that. If it needs to have a higher resolution to be more zoomable, we can take care of that. Excellent.
Thank you. Thanks, Joshua,
All
for
right.
the question.
Here's a good question for the year 2023. Emmett, this is back to you. And Joey's asking, are electric charging stations at the sites going to be part of the conversation?
That would be great, wouldn't it? I would like to see those too. But we know with electric charging vehicle stations that comes electrical access and conduit and trenching and environmental concerns with that. So there's newer technologies out there that we would probably consider as well. I think that it's important, the EV charging station plan that the county has, ensuring that we can try to make sure that we have these meet the demands of EV. But yes, this is something that we would definitely like to consider. If it's an important aspect from your perspective, please put it within the survey and add that as one of your recommendations. But this is something that, yeah, we would definitely look into and consider. Good news is that we do have these EV charging stations that are off grid, that are those EV arcs that don't require conduit and trenching and power. So we might have those options available at that time. But again, we are taking information. This is something they would definitely consider. And that's a great comment. No, thank you, Joey. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I would add briefly, we definitely know that in addition to just car EVs, there's increasing amounts of EV ATVs, motorcycles, and off-roading vehicles on the market. And that's a growing sector in the off-road market. So we're definitely thinking about those things. And as Emmett said, we want to and need to hear from folks on desire and demand for that.
All right, we're going to move to another topic. Emmett, Dean is asking, are you anticipating it will be a pay-for-use facility?
Oh, well, we wouldn't know that as of yet. Usually when it comes to programming and details, that's when I think a site has actually been already identified, when that might be determined and or discussed. But at this point, it's all open. Right now, we wouldn't be able to answer yes or no on that one. Again, I think once sites are identified or the site is identified, then that discussion would come up. But at this point, this being a feasibility study of potential locations, yeah, we wouldn't know at this point. So sorry, Dean, I wish I had better questions for you, but better response. But yeah, hang tight. As we get through it, we'll be able to answer that question once we get closer.
Okay, so here's Alan's bringing up an interesting idea and asks, are you considering expanding an existing area? And I imagine he means an existing OHV recreation area.
Right now, the County of San Diego Parks Department doesn't own or operate an existing OHV. That's where we're looking for right now, but we haven't ruled out working with our partners. There's going to be, opportunities to work with other jurisdictions as well that do operate these type of facilities, and contingent on the results of the first tier pool assessment, we may have to consider that more of an option. I mean, we won't really know until we go through that first tier assessment. There could be only 5 sites. It could be 30, right? We don't really know. But if the sites are really low, then I feel like we'd have to make an adjustment to see if there's opportunities to have more of a joint use, right? And potential to expand these existing. So I think that would be definitely on the table. We don't want to rule out everything, but that is something to consider if needed. So I've noted that, and I appreciate that comment as far as expanding existing facilities if there's opportunities. So thank you for that.
Tom has a question that let's look at his questions next. So Tom says, have you been facing any opposition? Who do you expect to be fighting this, if anybody? And it's a 2-part question. So why don't we answer that question first, and then we'll go to the second part of his question. So Emmett, are you thinking, have you heard about any opposition? Are you expecting any? What are you hearing so far?
Yeah, I think, any project that the county has, any capital project, there's always going to be a balance. And we're going to be working with us internally with our resource management department, who are the stewards of our conservations and our preserves and our open space. We'll be working with them, and we feel that yes, we will be getting comments from environmentalists as well, and that's what we want. And again, we'll be working closely with our partners to ensure that any concerns or comments they have, that we'll be able to address them. And I see this as just not a one-way street. We're going to have to work together and compromise and to make sure that we find a place that both provides safe usage for our OHV users and also minimizes environmental impacts as well. So we'll be looking at a lot of things. And yes, we anticipate, folks that might be unhappy about this, but I think that goes for all projects usually, just based on my experience. So hopefully that answers your question. That yes, we do anticipate that we will get some opposition. And was there a second part to that, Joan?
Yeah, I just want to reinforce too that the roundtable that you talked about, just like you said, it was designed with to reflect and represent a wide range of interests, including those who have environmental interests, so that the team could really be considering all different perspectives and questions and concerns that might surface through this study. Okay, the second part of Tom's study is, can you give more details on the grant and how the county plans to continue after 2024?
Wow, that's a good question. As far as direction from the board, this is the first step. First step was to allow us, they determined that we can apply, we're eligible to apply, and we receive funding. So this is the first step. I anticipate us requesting, once it's available, additional funding to move to the next steps. So that's what we anticipate. We're going to continue down this route of finalizing this feasibility study in 2024, and then sharing these the findings of this feasibility study to our board, and at that time requesting for additional funds and or see if there is opportunities for additional grant options. So we'll continue to be active and be in the lookout. If you hear of any grants as well that might be available, please send them our way, because we're actively looking, and that's our plan, to brief and share the results to our board of supervisors after this report's complete, and to see if there's additional funding that we can receive, that they can allocate to this process, and or if we can continue to apply for additional grant funding.
Okay. So everyone, what I'm doing is I'm going through the questions because there are a lot of questions still, and I'm trying to make sure that everyone who's asked a question or multiple questions that we hear, that we get a question for each person once, and then I'll go back and pick up the additional questions. And I'm also looking for different topics. So there's a question here, or a comment from Judy about, please do not consider Bonita open space for this park. I see no way that this can be environmentally friendly. And then I want to go to a question here from Don, who says, with all of the preserved land in San Diego County, is there really a strong chance that an OHV area can be developed? Would it be on county-owned land, or is BLM an option?
I believe we're looking at county-owned land at this point. And again, we won't know until we get through that first tier layer. I hear your concerns though. It sounds like we don't have space. Everything isn't preserved. I mean, there are going to be opportunities, I think, and I think the results are going to be, I'm being optimistic about it. And what will happen is we will publish those results on our website and share with you all what we get after the first tier has been finalized. But the public input we receive here from the surveys, along with the GIS assessment, first tier assessment that Dick provided, is going to play a major part in providing us this high level area assessment, or this pool, if you will. So hopefully that answers your question.
Emma, you're doing an awesome job, because we have a lot of different kinds of questions here. All right, so the next is from John, and this question has to do with what could happen in an OHV park. So the question is, are you going to propose open riding areas or designated routes only? Also, can we consider areas in existing county regional parks for this use?
These are all great questions. I mean, questions even / suggestions. So whether it's open riding or to where it's more contained and observed, and I mean, this is what we want to hear. This is the type of feedback we want. We have San Diego County OHV enthusiasts and riders that travel far, from my understanding, right, to meet these recreational needs. And we'd like to hear what you guys would like to see. And you guys know San Diego the best as well. I mean, we know it to a certain extent, but everyone here brings a certain aspect to it, certain view. So that's what we would like to see. Feedback on if you guys prefer open riding, something that's more focused and more overseen and operated, and maybe a safer environment. You'd like to hear that, like to see what you guys would like to see. And then again, that being a part of this whole assessment we're doing for the first layer tier assessment, but that hasn't been determined yet at this point. I know that it was discussed also amongst the roundtable members, but again, we're open to hear what the County San Diego residents would like to see.
But we've got a couple of questions about the survey. When are you going to send the link? And importantly, can you put the link in the chat during this meeting?
You know what? Let's go do that.
Okay.
The survey
And-
is already available, so I did post it on our website. And if you guys navigate through our website, we have an OHV page, and I believe the link is labeled as survey. So it is readily available, and I know I put it there. Let me try to find that, and I'll drop it in the link as well. So if you guys
Okay.
can give me a second. All right, so let me do this. Sorry, give me 1 second. And you know what? I'm not sure if I'm able to drop that. If one of the staff can put that in the chat for the public, that would be great. Sorry about that. I don't know if Derek can do that or someone. But it will make sure that that's available. Actually, if you go to the next slide, sorry about that. I don't know what I'm doing. If you go to the next slide, there is the information there, and there is a QR code. So
Well, why don't we have our questions, but let's put the QR code
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, if you
so
go
that
to the next
people can
slide,
test
please.
that out right
Yeah,
now.
so this is it.
And I need to open the door because my cat's in my office and is wreaking havoc. So well, I'll just take a 30-second break.
All right, let's go take 30 seconds. Thank you, Joan, again for all your help.
Okay.
Triaging
I'm
the
back.
questions. So.
And if someone on the team can use a QR code or the link and then drop the link into chat, because some people are still, I think, wanting just a link, especially those who are on the phone.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Derek. Derek just dropped it.
Oh, great.
The actual survey link. So Derek, thank you for your help on that. Appreciate it. And also on the screen, we have the QR code. So if you have your phones handy, or you can type out the site below.
There are a couple of questions about timeline.
Yeah.
So one is timeline for completion of the study, and then another is timeline from like when we might actually see some construction.
Oh, well, from the study standpoint, we'd have to complete our study by fall of 2024. So that is the performance period of our grant. To complete the feasibility study, that was the agreement. And as we lead into that, I could anticipate us looking into and seeing if there is additional opportunities for grant opportunities to continue process. And again, like what I mentioned earlier, we will be presenting the results to the board and seeing if we can move forward with the recommendations in there to assist in trying to obtain funding for the project.
Okay. There are a couple of questions that are similar to what David's asking. David asks, what is the minimum and maximum size of the area that you are looking for?
I think so for OHV, I know that there's existing examples out there, and I know examples can range from over 100 acres, 500 acres. So we haven't made that determination yet on our, at this first pass. And I think right now we're still gathering information, looking at existing facilities, and again, any feedback from you all as well. I mean, for these OHV facilities, yeah, it could be 100 plus to 500 plus. That's the range that I've seen, that are already existing in California.
All right. Emma, all of the questions are very different from each other, so we're just going to keep going in the time.
Yeah, let's keep going, and if you don't mind, yeah, we'll keep taking questions as much as we can till we approach 7 o'clock.
Okay.
or 7:10. But yeah, let's do it. Let's continue to answer some questions.
All right, so Darren has a question. In selecting potential sites, are neighborhood noise effects being considered?
Yeah, that would definitely be considered as well. I know that, like for example, from the GIS layer perspective, I mean, we're not gonna be rating at a high value, highly density areas or village areas. I mean, we're gonna try our best to make sure that any areas that we do identify as a potential will also reflect the uses around it, and will and make sure that we, you know, if we can, try to design to be as furthest away as possible from high density residences. So noise would definitely be considered as part of our assessment.
Okay, and while we're on the topic of land use, John has the question, do you know what type of zoning would allow this use by right?
Ooh, that's a good question. That is a planning, development, and services question. Could look that up in the zoning ordinance, which is great nighttime reading. I don't know. I would have to pull that up. I think from what I recall, there are some zones that allow for this use. But again, I don't work for planning development services. We'd have to check in with the experts. So that's a good question.
Yeah.
Let me note that, because the question is what type of zone or designation would allow for this type of activity? And I think the question is by right or with some
Yeah,
type of
by
permit.
right. Yeah, the
Okay,
question is by right.
so I know that, you know, with the conditional use, major use permit, conditional use permit, usually, you know, it'll be allowed in more zoned areas, but by right, I think we're going to be limited to probably just a handful or even less than. But again, we'd have to reach out to our colleagues at Planning Development Services, and that's a great question. We'd have to look into that and see.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Darren.
All right, dune buggies. So Mike is asking that the dune buggy wasn't mentioned during the presentation. Are they part of vehicles that are being considered for OHV recreation for a county facility?
So I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't own an OHV vehicle, but I'm going to say that that is included as well. The illustration we provided were samples of OHV. So if there's other OHV that hasn't been identified, we'll definitely consider that. And yeah, definitely, we probably missed that. Dune buggies are part of that. I know that there are dune buggies that are tandem, side by side type of designs, but yeah, absolutely, that would be included in our assessment. And sorry for not including that. Again, the illustration we had and the samples we provided were just that, just samples. So yeah, feel free to add in the survey anything we may have missed. But thank you for that comment.
Okay, Sandra, you've been really patient because you have a couple of questions in here. So let me get to one of your questions because they're all good. So Sandra's asking, would the park be staffed and run by park rangers?
Ideally, yes, we would like to have our rangers out there and overseeing and operating and maintaining. That would be the ideal situation. But again, that's not the final answer. There might be opportunities, you know, where again it might be a joint use facility. We don't know. There might be other aspects of where if we do find a site, it might be overseen by our rangers or by maybe a group that that oversees parks in the area, that being one of them. But yeah, I anticipate that that's what we're looking for our staff, our rangers to go out and operate and maintain this type of facility. Again, with the caveat that there might be other opportunities for joint use work and maybe even contracting out if there's opportunities there. But typically, and then my operational staff could chime in if they'd like. It's my understanding that about 90% and plus, those are our rangers out there in our parks that maintain, operate, upkeep. They do everything. So we're very proud of our team and operations team. And I know that yeah, that's our team out there. So
I see Andrew nodding. Andrew, did you want to jump in?
No, yeah, Emmett's correct. It's yeah, majority of our park rangers, senior park rangers, or supervising park rangers. We have park attendants, but yeah, again, it'll be our rangers.
Okay. So there are a number of questions about how people can help to get others involved in the public involvement process. An example is like what Brian wrote in. Brian says, "Thank you for hosting this meeting. My family and friends are very excited about the prospect of an OHV park in a location that is more central and easily accessible than existing OHV areas." And then Brian asked, "What is the best way to provide comment and input during the process?"
The best way would be that survey. And again, my email contact is there shared on the screen via email. Reach out to me, share with me your story, what you envision and your experiences, and again, what you want to see. That's why we're having this meeting. We want to make sure that we are able to review everyone's thoughts and comments on this. Again, in the beginning, I was thinking, oh, it's just District 2 and District 5, larger swaths, East County, South County, North. But as you look into it, it's countywide. So that's where we are right now based on this feasibility study. We're starting from ground up and we need your input. So whether it's through the survey or via email to me directly, please, we're going to be reviewing all the feedback you provide, and then it will be considered. So please provide that within the survey or via email.
And the project website has good information on it too.
Yes, good
wanna
information.
And there's a link to the website and the website address on the last slide that we're going to show. It's up right now. It's the one with the QR code. And I would just say too, if you send your email, like when you email Emmett will take your email and put it on a list for future announcements. So that's another way we'll be able to stay in touch with you.
Absolutely. Within the survey, it asked if you'd like to leave your email address to be notified with updates as we continue process with the feasibility study, and just being up to date with the different phases and milestones we're at during this entire process.
MA is asking about about operations and will the OHV park be open year round?
Wow, those are great detailed operational questions that we won't be able to answer at this time. But what you can do is provide that as a recommendation or suggestion if that's what you guys would like to see. Yeah, right now we haven't made that determination, and this is the forum and medium in order to obtain that type of feedback. If that's what you want to see off season, then please share that.
Okay, and a question about, I may had a question too about stickers. Will green and red stickers be required, and or will the facility be open to all new dirt bikes too?
It's my understanding that'd be both available, but again, based on the type of facility, these are really more focused, detailed questions at the design stage, I would say. So if that's something that you feel would be a benefit for the OHV community, then yeah, let's put that as a suggestion recommendation that all stickered red and green vehicles and all newer are welcome. Well, let's put that in your comment if you don't mind. Again, we're open. This is the medium where we're taking information. We haven't made that determination yet, but it makes sense to me to make that part of the assessment. And if that's an important value to you, yes, please put that in your comment.
So we just have a couple more.
Okay.
Don wrote in a comment, adding additional OHV areas for non-street legal vehicles would help with safety for all riders. Currently, Ocotillo Wells SVRA is very popular and crowded. So having additional areas would disperse the users and make a safer situation for all. And then there's a question Audrey has here about, since you're looking at county-owned land and current parks, do you have a map of currently owned county land that you're including in your tier 1 analysis?
Oh, county owned? Yeah, it's going to be, we have that I think already available in our GIS. If you go to our GIS website, I could probably make that available too and note that, but it does identify all county land or county owned, that information is available. But I didn't mean that our assessment was limited just to county owned land. We're also looking at unincorporated county and that's something that we need to go a little more in depth and work with our colleagues at Planning Development Services, see if we could obtain that information. But again, we're not limiting ourselves just to county owned. We're looking at the unincorporated County San Diego.
And yeah, so there are a couple of questions that they're on that very specific topic about would only county land be looked at. So thanks for.
No, yeah, it's not only just owned county land. Just to make it clear, we're looking at unincorporated.
Okay. Here's a question. Dean is asking, are any county supervisors more supportive of a potential park than others?
Huh. That's an interesting question. I would say that I think all supervisors see this and feel that it is an important aspect in recreation. And yeah, I think any type of item that is presented to the board would be all important to them, as they are, voting members of the public. So that would be my response, that all projects are important to all the supervisors when presented to them as they vote. This being one of them as well. All of them would feel that this is an important project.
We're down to the last topic, and it's another question from Sandra, who's wondering, how will liability be handled? Would the visitors to the facility sign some sort of a waiver?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's something that that would be discussed at the later stages of the project when I would say when a site is identified, or even the design stage. I wouldn't know how the liability would be handled at this time. So I'm going to be honest with you. Right now, our goal with this feasibility study would be just to see the potential locations first. And I know that through the process, we will be identifying the liability, and through the multiple stages of this feasibility study and us moving forward with it too, we'll continue to be transparent in our process, and the liability topic will come up at its appropriate phase in the project, and that'll be available for input and discussion. So that's something that we wouldn't know at this point in detail. So my apologies for kicking the can down on that one, but again, yeah, we wouldn't know the liability details at this point in the process, as we're just scratching the surface on this.
Just starting out, but these are all really important things that the team's for sure going to have to consider. And
yeah.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up our Q&A portion with some ideas from Audrey on places to consider, and you'll see if they pop up in your analysis. So Audrey is saying the land between George Bailey's and Otay Mountain would be awesome. And then the area Valley Center to Fallbrook has amazing riding areas.
Audrey, this is great. Thank you so much. Yeah, let's share that. We have that here recorded, but if you can also reiterate that on the survey or via email to me, would appreciate that. So thank you again, and to all. Any recommendations, we're open ears at this point.
Okay, one more comment. Audrey said Palomar Mountain desperately needs green sticker, red sticker approved trails days with a trailer park. So we'll be taking we're able to save all of the input that we're getting in the Q&A box. So Emmett, we are after 7, and okay. So we should go ahead and wrap up.
Yeah, we'll conclude. I just want to let everyone know that staff here is very appreciative of everyone signing in and logging in and listening into this hour presentation and discussion. And also, if you know folks who were unable to attend, please share with them the survey, as it will close end of this month. And minor typo, it says it'll close on April 31st. It will close at the end on April 30th. So what we anticipate next happening is that we will be meeting with a roundtable meeting member sometime in summer, and then there could be a potential again for another public meeting sometime in the winter. So please stay tuned. Please check out our website, and this presentation will be available as well on our website. So for those who've left me your email, I'll be able to respond with updates to our website with this recorded presentation, questions and answers, along with this presentation as well. So again, the team here just wants to thank all of you taking your time during a weekday at 6 p.m. during dinner time to spend it with us. So thank you so much, and just appreciate your time and coming out. And thank you, team, and thank you, roundtable members, and thank you all as OHV stakeholders for attending.
Bye, everyone.